Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy. The dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
Thanks. I don't want pickles either.
Alex stolen. Alex stolen as well. And now Murdoch stolen.
You will bring the jury.
Alrighty, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. Thank you all for being here. We have a dilemma in Thurston. We have a dilemma. We were holding tight. We're in a holding pattern as we're waiting for court to start today, with what we expected to be opening testimony on the prosecution. But we have a problem. We'll get to that in just a minute. First of all, just wanted to say, first and foremost, thank you to sample user. Oh, that's not it. Hang on one second. We are professionals. There we go. Thank you to Tumwater Troy. There you go. Tumwater Troy. Hometown Thurston, Washington fan. With us on the ground up there in Washington with great information as well. Tumwater Troy, you're first in chat. The first time you've been first in chat. We're going to sentence you with internet ownership as a punishment for your crime. And this also goes on your permanent record. Congratulations, my friend, being first in chat. It's not an easy task, but you managed to somehow pull it off. Thank you. You're just responsible for keeping the internet up and running for the rest of us all day long. It's just a small thing. Just do that on the side while you do everything else as well. We have a couple things. First of all, tonight there's a podcast at 8 p.m. on this channel. If you ring the bell and click the button, you'll be notified, or at least theoretically be notified that when it happens, and you can join us. We'd like you to do that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Afterwards, Ayden has a live stream. He'll be starting with Ricky Watson after our live stream's over, or right about that time. So you get some late night content that you don't normally get. So we'll recommend that afterwards. Where we are right now, we're gonna do a quick jump. I realize there's probably stuff I need to go over that I need to do, but seat isn't working. Who broke the chairs? Oh, I forgot to turn the chairs on. Hang on, I'm enabling the chairs as we speak. Wait for it. All right, I just built the front row. You can take a seat. Everyone, please be seated. And we'll be good. Let's see. Let's go right here. We're gonna catch up and see exactly what is up in Washington right now. Okay, let's see. Where's the judge? Oh, we need to play, but that helps better when we play. There's our judge, prosecutors, defense, our defendant.
Actually verify that we still only have 5 jurors in the room.
We still only have 5 jurors?
And Your Honor, I had informed the clerk and defense counsel that Officer Johnson might not.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'd informed. Were you good? I informed the clerk that Officer Johnson, we could not reach her this morning. She sent an email at 4 a.m. indicating that she was stuck on a blocked road while she was on shift. Officer Johnson has made it in, so she is present. So okay. I wanted to correct that.
She's here.
All right. Well, I guess that problem solved itself, but our other problem is still a problem, which is that we only have 5 jurors. So I guess we're going to discuss the options, but now before I just make a quick record about the situation. Of course, we anticipated in the jury selection process yesterday that there might be snow. So sure enough, we got snow, some, not a lot. As a result of that, the county and to some extent the district court also extended the opening time by 2 hours. That information was posted on our website. That information was in the media. And that information is on the updated jury information line, to just confirmed. The two missing jurors have not contacted the jury information line, and attempts to reach them have been unsuccessful. So we don't know why they're not here. If they didn't know the information that I just said, we would have seen them at 9 o'clock this morning. If they did know the information about the delayed opening, they would have been here at 10, and clearly they are not. So we're left with 5 jurors, that means that if the defense doesn't consent to being tried by a jury of 5, then unless I hear a good reason not to, it would be a mistrial.
Boom.
So
judge calls it.
Court, Mr. Funk.
Judge looks over at defense and says, what do you want to do?
Yeah, I have no objection to giving them a couple minutes to discuss this. This is, I think, only happened to me once in almost a decade.
You want to talk about it? I mean, you don't have to sit here on the record and, if you want to step out or have a private conversation, that's fine.
If we could, Your Honor.
This was 3 minutes ago. So they're going to step out. They're going to go off the record.
We'll figure it out.
Patient judge having his patience tested here. That's the end of that. We're waiting for the answer. But apparently, let's see. Are we back? Are we back? Let's see. Just 1 second here. Nope, that's the same one. Let me go back to the channel. Make sure nothing else has happened since then. Oh, they're live right now. Let's rewind just a couple minutes. Let's see how this ended up.
That might make this conversation moot.
Let's let Ashley determine that first, and then we'll come back to this.
They made a decision, but now they might have some breaking news that they may have found a missing juror. Makes the conversation moot. Thurston delivers. They never fail. Yeah, we've never had a jury not show up, like a complete jury.
Not really.
I think they did want the mistrial. I think they did not get a favorable jury in this batch.
We have 6. Now, how about that?
Oh, the other 2 showed up.
Your officer made it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Everybody's here.
Okay.
Call off the dogs.
Yeah, I should verify them with both of you that there aren't any witness problems with this. We have witnesses and they're ready.
None that I'm aware of, Your Honor. Our witness plans on coming at 1, and as far as I know, she is in contact with my office.
All right. Seems like we can start then. Okay.
So if you wanted your mistrial, you had your chance and you missed it. You missed your mistrial chance. Turn this down just a little bit. Coffee and Crime gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. Thank you, Coffee and Crime.
Get too far away, would you?
No, Your Honor, she's just sitting out there.
Normally, yes, you could have an arrest warrant put out for the missing jurors. Some judges look at that very unfavorably. This one, not so sure. He might be like, oh, well, they probably had good reason. What's a missed mistrial called? Had they just spoken, had they deliberated faster, we would have had a mistrial. It was a near mistrial. You're right, Greeners.
Go ahead and be seated, everyone. All right, members of the jury, welcome back to the second day of the trial. Obviously, it didn't start the way we anticipated, but I have 6 of you here, so we're going to continue on where we left off yesterday. So the city is going to call its first witness.
I apologize, Your Honor. Mr. Thompson just went out too.
Okay, but you can call the name so we have it in the record.
Okay, yes. Our first witness is Reagan Duplessis.
Can you hear okay? No. Is this working?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't believe Mr. Rudd's hearing device is working. He's having a hard time hearing everything.
Okay. Let's check on that. If you have another one in there, just maybe switch it out.
Maybe change the batteries on that one.
Here, Pete, Young.
I am seeing some breaking news out of the Washington, D.C. area. Reports of several loud explosions and smoke pouring out of a D.C. train station. I haven't seen yet if this was a derailment or what has happened. But there's some video that definitely something's going on. People running, lots of smoke. So just keep that in mind.
Have them send someone with more experience.
All right, ma'am, would you come right up here by this witness chair, and before you sit down, raise your right hand, please. And you swear that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
All right, please have a seat. And then just get started whenever you're ready. Go right.
Good morning. Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Reagan Duplessis. My first name is Reagan, Regan. My last name is Duplessis, Duplessis.
Judge, may we
What
please
is your
see the
current
witness?
occupation?
I'm a CNA,
What is a CNA?
a certified nursing assistant.
Could you please describe your education and prior professional experience?
So since I've been 18, I've always worked in the medical field as a CNA. And I have gone through about halfway through college, and I have since dropped out.
And how many years of caregiving experience do you have?
10.
On April 11th, 2023, where were you working?
The Hampton.
Can you say, is that the full name?
I think so. The Hampton, it's a memory care unit in Tumwater.
Okay. It's located in Tumwater, Washington?
Yes.
What was your job title on April 11th, 2023?
CNA.
And can you please explain a little bit more what the Hamptons is?
It's a facility that is for people that have either dementia or Alzheimer's. So they're all cognitively impaired to some degree. And I would assist them with their activities of daily living, such as showering, eating, ambulating, helping them get clean, those types of things.
Were those your primary job responsibilities at the Hampton?
Yes.
Do you still work there?
No.
How long in total did you work at that facility?
About 4 months in total.
And do you still work in this field?
Yes.
On April 11th, 2023, were you working with anyone who is in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Who?
His name is Donnie.
Do you know his last name?
Red.
Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
He's wearing a gray jacket and a striped tie.
Let the record show Ms. Duplessis has identified the defendant, Mr. Red. What was the nature of your working relationship with Mr. Red on April 11th?
April 11th was my first day. I had never even been in the facility. I was hired over the phone, so it was my first day there. So I'd only known him for an hour to an hour and a half when this incident occurred.
Were you his trainee?
Yes, I was training with him, yeah.
And you said you have 10 years of experience now. How many years of experience at the time on April 11th, 2023?
So that would have been 9 years.
Why would you need to be somebody's trainee?
Every place that you go to has different policies and procedures and the way they do things. So you're required to go through training for each facility that you work at.
On April 11th, 2023, did you and Mr. Red come into contact with a Miss Betty May Wood?
Yes.
Who is she?
She is a resident of the Hampton.
Why did you come into contact with her?
She lived there, and we had just gotten done with dinner, and we were giving her a shower.
Can you please describe how that shower went on April 11th, 2023?
I saw Mr. Red strike her several times and spit in her face.
Can you start at the beginning and tell me, I want to go right to before the shower. What was happening?
So we were in the dining room initially when I came onto the shift, and we were passing out dinner for the residents. And then the med tech said that Betty needed a shower. So we got her into the shower room, and
when you get her into the shower, what was her behavior and demeanor like?
I would say it was pretty baseline after I had gotten to know Betty after this day. She seemed pretty typical to her baseline, but she is confused, very confused, severely confused, and elderly. So she wasn't happy to be there, but she was, just kind of, it's hard to describe. She is confused, so she couldn't understand what was going on. So.
And you get her into the shower, and what happens next?
We got her undressed. Well, Donnie got her undressed, and then he began the shower, and she was very confused, not exactly happy to be in the shower by any means, but there came a point in time where he then slapped her legs because she was kind of like stiffening up. I believe she did manage to scratch him at some point, but he hit her several times. And then she started like spitting water out of her face. He had sprayed her in the face with the water, and she was spitting it out, and then he spit in her face, directly in her face.
You said that Mr. Red slapped Miss Betty's leg. Can you tell me more about that?
It was with an open hand, and he like smacked her on her thigh area.
Did you see his hand make contact with her leg?
Yes.
And you said he slapped her multiple times?
Yes.
Can you tell me about those other occasions?
Just the same thing, on the leg. And then he like kind of slapped her in the mouth, like almost like you would a dog on their nose. That's the only thing I can describe it as. And then he did spit on her as well.
And you said he made contact with Betty's mouth. Can you tell me more about that? Was his hand opened or closed?
Open.
Did you see his hand make contact with her
Yes.
mouth? And how would you describe that contact?
Like a slap.
And you said that he spit on Betty. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So he had sprayed her in the face with the water, which is not, I want to make it very clear, is not the way that we would shower someone. You don't spray them directly in the face with the water. So he had sprayed her in the face, and so she, spit the water back out that she had gotten in her mouth, and then he spit in her face, and I saw the spit make contact with her.
Was Mr. Red wearing a mask?
I don't believe so. If it was pulled down.
Did you see spit leave his mouth?
Yes.
Did you see spit hit her face?
Yes.
And going back to, you said he pointed water into her face. Can you tell me what was happening before that?
He was just doing the shower, and she started to kind of, she wasn't happy, and it was almost something that you would do like to get their attention, if that makes any sense, but he sprayed her directly in the face.
Was it a detachable shower head?
Yes.
How close was the shower head to her face?
It at less than 6 inches.
Where were you standing while Betty was being showered?
So they were standing in front, like directly in front of me, and I was standing facing them, but like in front of the door, in between where the toilet room is and like the shower.
Can you describe where the shower was?
So you walk into the bathroom, and immediately to the left, there is a room that has a sink, the toilet, and a door. And just past that is the shower. And then to the left of that and behind is like where we would keep the soaps and shampoo and things like that. So I was standing like before. So if they were standing here, I was right here watching.
This is the prosecutor's first case, so she's getting some tips and notes from her coach.
And you use the term baseline. What does that mean?
It's individual to a patient, and that describes what they're like typically day to day. And so anything as a CNA you would report, say, is different in a baseline would be anything different from how they would typically act.
And in your experience, do patients with Alzheimer's or dementia have the ability to regulate their behavior in the same way adults do?
No.
What do you mean by that?
So with Alzheimer's and dementia, they don't have the ability to really understand what is going on around them, which is why they can have big emotions, what I call them.
What happened after the shower was done, the water was turned off? What happened next?
He dried her off. Donnie dried Betty off, and then dressed her. And then immediately we came out, and the med tech told us to go to lunch. He then walked me out like through the back to where I parked in the parking lot, and I immediately called Janelle.
What was Mr. Red's demeanor or tone of voice during the shower?
He was not happy. He was very angry, annoyed.
What does that mean? Did he say anything?
He wanted her to cooperate. I can't remember verbatim, as it's been almost a year, but I remember him being very upset with her.
What do you mean he wanted her to cooperate? In what way?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
That was a good objection.
Did Mr. Red say anything to explain his actions?
No.
Did you try to stop him?
Yes.
What did you do?
I told him I could get it from here. I could do it.
What did he say?
He didn't respond.
Did you try to get help?
Afterwards, yes. But as a CNA, it's very clear in your training that you are not to leave the patient ever if they're in that situation, because if you leave, it could be worse than if you stayed. So that's why when he walked me out to my car, before I did anything, I called Janelle Reardon, who is the nurse of that facility.
Within how many minutes of the shower did you make this report?
I can't remember exactly, but I would say less than 10 minutes.
When did your shift start that day on April 11th, 2023?
I came in around 4 or 4:30 p.m.
Had you met Mr. Red before April 11th?
No.
When did the shower happen?
Around 6 p.m.
Have you cared for patients or residents with Alzheimer's before?
Yes.
How many?
Hundreds.
Have you worked in a facility that specialized in this care before?
Yes.
In your experience, what kind of behaviors do people with Alzheimer's display?
It varies greatly. Some are what we call pleasantly confused. Others are just confused, so they use what's called be alert and oriented. And it can go up to a ×4, which means you're alert and oriented completely. So I've found that usually when you're doing
objection relevance.
Ms. Schumacher, response.
I think it's directly relevant to the situation how patients with Alzheimer's. It goes to her training and experience. Yeah.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
So now the prosecuting attorney is a little confused because she has a line of questioning along that line that just got sustained on an objection. So she doesn't know where to go from here. So she's getting a little coaching here. That's why we have this pause. This judge is very patient with this sort of situation. Mostly because he's not a judge, he's a commissioner. And both sides have agreed to let this case be heard by this commissioner acting as judge.
Have you ever been taught to physically discipline or reprimand a patient?
I've been taught to do the opposite.
Just a moment. Just 1 second. Yes.
Relevance.
It goes to her training experience, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow this. Go ahead.
Would you like me to repeat the question? Yes. Have you ever been taught to physically discipline or reprimand a patient?
No, I've been taught the opposite. You walk away and reapproach as long as the patient is safe in a safe seated position or in their bed. You walk away. You never ever hit or strike or spit at a patient.
No further questions.
Ms. Capone, cross-examination.
Mr. Keller.
Mr. Kale, I didn't see that coming. But Mr. Kale, cross-examination.
Second chair takes over.
Not just here to sit and look pretty.
I mean, there's something where she stood. It's all right.
No, it's not all right. It doesn't seem that the hearing device is working very well.
Let's see what we can do.
I don't know if we could maybe ask people to speak up or.
Yeah, we'll do that. Is that the last one? All right.
Was the one you had yesterday working okay?
I got my hearing aids now turned up max. I can hear you very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and has he got it turned up?
Yeah.
Okay.
His hearing aids are turned all the way up.
Sure.
And he's also wearing a assisted hearing device. Both of them objected, I think, during the course of that testimony. But the judge apparently lets 2 people per horse in this court. So the defendant can't hear. He has the right to hear what's going on in the court case.
Yes, I can definitely hear you.
Speak up because everybody in the courtroom has to be able to hear you.
Okay.
And it's kind of a big awkward room, I know. So do your best to keep your voice out.
Yes.
Okay.
I can't hear anything now, but I guess he needs to say something for us to be able to hear it. He's collecting his thoughts. Here we go. Deep breath. And out with it, good fellow.
All right.
So first off, I'd like to ask you some questions about Miss Wood's behavior.
Okay.
So throughout the shower process, getting into the shower, during the shower, after the shower, she was hitting Mr. Red.
Incorrect.
Incorrect. Okay, so it's your testimony she wasn't hitting Mr. Red?
Not before, during, and after. No.
Okay. Was she kicking him?
Not before, during, and after. No.
Okay. During the shower?
During the shower.
Was she hitting him?
I wouldn't say hitting. I don't believe that I believe she made contact once.
So you wouldn't say hitting?
I would say scratching one time. Yes.
Okay. What about kicking?
She may have. I don't recall.
Did she kick him before the shower?
No.
Did she kick him after the shower?
No.
Spitting at Mr. Red. Was she spitting at him before the shower?
No.
During the shower?
Once he put water in her face, she spit it out.
So once he put water in her face, she spit it out? She wasn't spitting before that?
No.
Okay. And you said she scratched him once?
I believe she may have.
She may have.
Yeah, I can't recall. It's been almost a year.
Okay. Was she trying to bite him at any point?
I don't recall that.
Okay. So you don't recall. You wrote a statement back on April 11th, the night this happened?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would reading that statement refresh your memory about what you believe happened?
Probably. It's been about a year, almost a year.
So they're going to impeach the witness here, because apparently her statement.
The record reflects I'm showing the opposing counsel document.
Just make sure it gets marked. Just make sure it gets marked.
Yeah. May I push the clerk to have this marked? Absolutely.
She did.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what's been marked as, for purposes of identification, as defense exhibit number 1.
Yes.
Right. I am handing Ms. Duplessis what is marked as defense exhibit 1. So, Ms. Duplessis, if I could have you read over that document, refresh your memory. Once you're done reading it, to refresh your memory, if you could turn it over and look back up at me.
Okay.
So this incident occurred in April of last year. So a little less than a year ago. About 10 months ago. I think from what I've heard so far, I'm sure the prosecutor's going to get to, or the defense is going to get to, is where she said she was sitting, or where she was observing from, would be an obstructed view because of where she was standing. Basically, the defendant was between her and the patient. I'm sure that's going to be addressed here, but
Hold on.
Yes.
So now that you've reviewed your statement from the night this happened, do you remember, do you feel like your memory's been refreshed?
A little bit.
Okay. So before the shower started, was Miss Wood hitting Mr. Red?
It doesn't appear so.
It doesn't appear so?
In my statement, it seems like she was dragging her feet before the shower.
Okay, so in the shower room.
In the process of her undressing, it appears is where she started to get agitated.
Okay, and after she was completely undressed, was she hitting Mr. Red?
I can't recall, but based on the statement, is what is in my statement. Yeah.
Was she kicking him at that time?
At the time, like while she was getting her shower?
In the shower after she was undressed.
According to the statement.
Was she spitting on him at that time?
According to the statement, yes.
Was she attempting to bite him at that time?
According to the statement, yes.
And let's see. You wrote this statement on April 11th?
Yes.
The night this happened?
Yes.
You wrote it when you got home from work that night?
Yes. I left work early to write that statement. Yes.
So you left work early to write this statement?
Yes.
So this event was fresh in your mind at that time?
Yeah.
You felt strongly about this incident?
Oh, yeah.
So you thought it was important to document things?
Absolutely.
Great. You wanted your documentation to be accurate?
Yes.
Complete? Yes. Thorough? Detailed?
Yes.
All right. And so I'm asking you today. I'm not asking you what's in your statement. I'm asking you today. After Miss Wood was completely undressed on the shower chair, she began hitting Mr. Red.
I cannot recall, but I can only read the statement. I can recall a lot of it, but it was and I hope you'd be understanding that was a very rough thing to watch, and I'm sure for her to experience.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Sustained.
And I would ask the court to advise the jury to disregard that statement, strike it from the record.
Yes, the members of the jury, the last answer by the witness is stricken and you're not to consider it.
All right. And it was your testimony on direct that, and on cross, that Miss Wood only spit after Mr. Red sprayed her in the face?
Yes.
Right. Mr. Yes.
Why is the prosecution consulting with the defense? Hey, ask her this. I can tell you that obviously it's the defense's job to make this look as good as possible in light of the facts that are out there. If there was an exchange of spittle back and forth, if he sprayed her in the face and she spit and then it went in his mouth and he tried to spit that out, that would probably be, it's as yucky as that is. That might be an angle they might try to get at, but.
So we've already established that you wrote this statement after you got home from work so that you could record what happened. Felt strongly you wanted this written statement to be complete, thorough, accurate, truthful.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Okay, more impeachment. Now we have a police report, I think.
Let the record reflect that I'm showing the prosecutor a statement, a document.
You just
You said you're just publishing it?
Your Honor, may I approach the clerk to have a document marked?
Bruce, it sounds very bad. And if what happened is as the state described it, that is wrong, 100% wrong. I don't know. I'm not confident if this witness, from her vantage point, saw what she thinks she saw. I don't know. I just, first of all, she's being a little bit evasive with her answers, and saying she's, what she wrote back then, she's not standing by now.
And Your Honor, may I approach the witness with what has been marked as Defense Exhibit 2?
Yes.
So, Ms. Duplessis, can you please read the highlighted portion of that statement?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
The prior inconsistent statement, Your Honor.
It's for impeachment.
Well, okay, before I rule on that objection, you've shown her an exhibit. First of all, she should identify what it is.
Correct, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Duplessis, do you recognize what that is?
Yes.
And what is it?
It's my statement from April 11th of 2023.
Okay. And does that look like an accurate copy of your statement?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Mr. Kemp, so that I understand that Exhibit 2 is the same as Exhibit 1, but it has a highlighted portion.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. The objection?
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Any response?
Prior inconsistent statement, Your Honor.
Let me excuse the jury. Members of the jury, I'm going to have you go into the jury room while I sort out a legal issue here.
Debbie, we know the defense had a witness they wanted to call here, who was, I believe, a manager at the assisted care facility. And after this occurred, she went and checked the patient and was unable to find any indication of any injury. But the charge that the defendant is being charged with does not require evidence of injury to get a conviction.
Ashley informed the jury after Ms. Duplessis' testimony had been underway that the seventh juror appeared in the jury room. Since the juror came in after testimony had begun, I asked Ashley to let the juror know that they were excused, discharged from service. They wouldn't have been at this point able to serve as an alternate juror either, since they hadn't heard the testimony. So we have the 6 that we have, and no alternate.
If we lose a juror, we're dead in the water.
All right, so let me make sure I understand the evidentiary issue here. So Mr. Kelly, you're attempting to have the highlighted portion of her of her written statement introduced as substantive evidence or some other purpose.
It's impeachment by a prior inconsistent statement.
Okay, does that make any difference to your objection, Mr. Thompson?
No, Your Honor. This is kind of a weird nuance to some of the evidence for what I think and why maybe Mr. Kale thought there was or wasn't expecting an objection. The state actually thinks that the statement in its entirety, based off the witness's answers, would come in, either be read into the record or actually the document itself would come in based off of
past recollection recorded.
Yes, recorded recollection, based off her ability to not specifically recall the timeline of events. However, the state couldn't introduce the document itself, as we're not an adverse party to the witness.
Because it's hearsay.
Defense could.
But
I
they
don't think
want the
it
whole thing.
can cherry pick sentences out of the document. I think that the memorandum has to be admitted in its entirety.
I have to say, Mr. Kale, I kind of had a similar thought because she had answered fairly consistently that she didn't actually remember herself, but instead she was essentially reciting to you that she had read this in her statement, which means, and I think Mr. Thompson alluded to this, that you showing her her statement did not in fact refresh her recollection. In fact, what happened is she just recognizes it as her own statement and recognizes that these are things that she said on the prior occasion, but that didn't refresh her memory as to the events.
Never seen that before.
Which would mean potentially that if you establish that this recording here, this statement meets the definition of a recollection recorded, the statement itself could potentially be admitted as substantive evidence.
Wow. Layer upon layer on there. So
that's correct.
So now he's reviewing.
With that in mind, though, if defense does wish to submit it, we would just ask that her personal information at the bottom be redacted.
Sure. So that may get you where you want to go, Mr. Kale, if you just want to admit her statement, because it qualifies as a past recollection recorded, and it is about events that she does not have the current ability to remember, and it is an accurate recording of the events at the time, then that statement can come in its entirety.
So this is really complex because she showed her statement from the night when she wrote that statement, and she reviewed it and read it, and it did not refresh her recollection, even though she said she believed that it would. She still said, I still don't remember that, but that's what I wrote in my statement. Because of that, they have this other rule for past recollection recorded where the entire statement could be admitted as evidence, whereas normally it would be considered hearsay. So this entire statement can come in. The prosecution was objecting to them cherry picking one of the lines, but it sounds like they would be more okay with the entire thing coming in than just a little piece out of it. And so now defense is, and because of this, it's, the state can't admit this as evidence. Defense can. Now defense has to choose and see.
Your Honor, if I know they're conferring, but looking at the time, may I release my officer for lunch? She's coming off a pretty lengthy shift.
All right. We're way behind on this anyway, so okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So defense is deciding if they want to go this route, because if they go this route, it sounds like it's going to be all or nothing. They can't just get the line that really is in their favor. And it sounds like all of it is probably, well, first of all, you're going through all the details again, all the allegations one more time in front of the jury. They're going to hear that probably in different words than they heard it the first time. And that's going to resonate with the jury. It's terrible allegations. They're bad, bad, bad. Is it worth that to get this one piece that shows that this witness was not telling the truth when the rest of the statement still says bad, 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 bad? state's pulled out the law book. They're trying to see if they can still parse this document down. The witness that is on the stand, this is the first witness. This was a witness who was on her first day at the care facility, was being trained, or was the trainee working alongside the defendant, and was basically there as an observer during this exchange with the resident. She might have screwed up by being evasive, but she also may have helped the state a little bit if this whole thing has to come in. Defense is trying to find a way around this, and the way they're looking at the defendant, they're looking to him saying, look, do you want us to open this door? Do you want us to bring this in or not? If copyright issue wasn't a thing, I would play a song for you that I love. It's a song by a group called Larkin Poe. It's two sisters that play a variety of instruments and sing beautifully, and they sing a song called "Mad as a Hatter," about dementia, about some of the issues of old age which they dealt with in their own family, and incredible song. I highly recommend it. If you watch the one where they recorded it in an old church, man, that is you guys know. Yes, love Larkin Poe. You know what I'm talking about. It's a beautiful song. It's respectfully. I mean, they talk about the intro before the song, as they talk about how the song was written for their grandparents and who dealt with this, and they as a family dealt with it as well. And yeah, we're waiting for the state to decide. They're conferring right now betwixt each other. This is a strategy that they were not expecting an objection, because the state brought this up as a prior inconsistent statement. Just thought they could throw this little one-liner from her initial report in the face of the witness and say, but didn't you say this before? You know, you're lying now. The state objected, or at least defense said that. The state objected based on hearsay. The argument and hearsay is a statement that occurred outside of court. Okay, it doesn't matter that it was her own statement, but it occurred outside of court. So the defense was saying, but this is introduced prior inconsistent statement, so it gets around the hearsay rule. But you can't just say, okay, go ahead, because it didn't refresh her recollection. So this document is no longer something that refreshed her recollection. It's now a separate prior recording of events. This is like deep legal stuff, especially for first case lawyers like the two we have on this case. Cheryl, I do have the information about my son playing the keyboard. Let me see if I can send you a link. It's a little tricky, though. It's a little tricky. For those that want to participate, and so I put a link up here. This is a website. Now, let me tell you, this website, they're not sponsored. I don't get anything from this. This is a website that my son's piano teacher uses to help teach my son. They have a contest. My son has recorded a song, which I can't play because it is it's not one that he wrote. He has written other songs, but it's not one that he wrote. It's someone else's composition. Anyway, you can go there and go to the contest. You have to create a user ID to log in, and then you can vote in the contest. He's in the high school category. His initials are AM, so you can see he's on there, and it's
Your Honor, I do believe the witness has made inconsistent statements today. Statements today that are inconsistent with her prior statement. So either she didn't remember when she made those statements to the jury, or she did remember, and now that she's being questioned on it, she doesn't recall specifically.
So he's still fighting this
So I
issue.
think since she has made statements today that are inconsistent with prior statements, this is admissible as prior impeachment by prior inconsistent statement.
Before I decide that, Mr. Thompson, any response to that?
I guess I would need them to be more specifically articulated what was the inconsistency.
Yeah, so tell me, what's the outline provision there, the highlighted provision that you wanted to read? Say?
So
No, I just don't give out my son's name online, but those are his first and last. And you'll see his name if you go there. I just don't give it out on my channel. And I request that you guys don't as well.
at the very least, Your Honor, also the statement was after the resident was completely undressed and on the shower chair, she began hitting, kicking, spitting, attempting to bite, and pushing Donnie away as she wasn't wanting to cooperate with the shower. The witness has at the very least said that that she did not spit until after she was sprayed in the face. The spray in the face doesn't, according to this statement, doesn't happen until much later. Undressed and in the chair doesn't even indicate that the water is running at that point.
I think the judge has to let this in.
The inconsistency then is between oral testimony about when the spitting occurred versus her prior written statement that the spitting occurred earlier.
Yes, although, let's see. I would want to review what exact, Ms. Duplessis's precise testimony to make sure that, because I believe there are also other inconsistencies that get to, I believe she testified to other things that get to kicking, hitting, attempting to bite, at least at the very least some of those items.
If I may, Your Honor, the state would disagree that that's an actual inconsistent statement because her statement was that she did spit in her face while in the shower. This sentence reflects that. It is a maybe inarticulate way to describe it, but it is not an actual inconsistent statement.
Yeah, it doesn't disavow the content of the oral statement.
Yes, and her testimony earlier, specifically when asked, was she was not hitting, kicking, spitting, biting, whatever, each of those series of questions before, during, and after. She was very clear. She wasn't doing that stuff before, during, and after. She answered the very specific question that defense counsel posed to her, which was before, during, and after, was Miss Wood doing X, Y, and Z? She said before, during, and after, no. It was a very specific answer. That's not inconsistent. That answered the exact question asked to her.
Then I went through and did before the shower, was she doing this? During the shower, was she doing this? After the shower, was she doing this? And again, Your Honor, I would need to, we can go to YouTube and watch it back and see what she said exactly.
I don't think that's necessary. It's a different thing for her statement here during testimony to be different than a written statement that she gave before. It can be incongruent with that statement. In other words, she doesn't have to perfectly be able to recite the entire contents of a prior statement in order for it to avoid being inconsistent. It has to be inconsistent materially. And I believe also in intent. In other words, if she were denying today something that she said was true before, or vice versa, would be the situation where you're getting into an inconsistent statement. I don't think she's doing that. What she's doing is she's doing her best to recall events from April of 2023. And I think has quite candidly told you and made it clear that she doesn't have memory about many of those matters in that level of detail. Even when you showed her her statement and she read the whole thing, she still said pretty much right away that that's what's in my statement, but I don't remember that, which gives me some concern about whether her memory was in fact refreshed or not, which is why I indicated that I think we may be in a recorded recollection situation where the written statement could itself become admissible, not just as a thing that refreshes recollection, but actually as evidence itself.
Okay. Well,
they don't want that. Is the witness sitting on the stand right now? She wasn't excused, right? She's hearing all this.
It seems like you don't want the whole statement to come in. It seems like you want parts of it to come in, or not necessarily to come in, but to be used as evidence of an inconsistent statement, which if you do, as Mr. Thompson pointed out, the context of the whole statement can be used.
How long do you have to think this over? I mean, do you have like a time limit? Can you like phone a friend? The defense is not happy with this decision at all. I don't think they have a choice. They have to backtrack at this point and not try to impeach her with that statement. That's the only way they could prevent the state from bringing this whole thing in.
We need to bring the jury back in and resume. And you can decide whether you want to do it that way, but at this point, you're quite correctly showing that there are inconsistencies between times or instances where she's recounted these events, but I don't believe she's denying having said something before that's materially different than what she's saying now.
This defense attorney, instead of being locked inside his mind here, should be verbalizing and arguing this point from different angles. Instead, he's stuck. His wheels are spinning, but he's not getting anywhere.
Gotcha.
So what they have, and here's, let me say this: what they have is their witness that shows that there were no physical marks of any kind on the victim has been excluded. Their gotcha moment for this particular witness of showing that she was not being truthful has now been sort of turned around and pointed back at them. So they can score this point, but they would lose the war, because the rest of that, what she doesn't remember today, the bad parts of her statement, will now be read in, and they don't want that. So now they're basically losing the case in slow motion here. And the judge is saying, I'm bringing the jury back. I mean,
Ashley.
Bring the jury. It's time. This is looking bad for the defendant. And it's a series of small wins for the prosecution, going all the way back through pretrial. that have created this. I hear you. I'm with you on the same. I'm not looking at the facts of whether or not this happened or not. The jury's going to decide that. I would like to hear more from the witness because I'm not sure.
And Your Honor, I believe a ruling on the objection needs to be on the record.
Sustained.
Thank you.
On direct, you testified that Mr. Red slapped Miss Wood's legs because she was stiffening up.
Yes.
Isn't it true that in your written statement you wrote, by this time the resident began kicking Donnie?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Prior inconsistent statement, Your Honor.
Different argument.
If you're asking her if she said it, she can answer that question. Go ahead.
So isn't it true that you said that the resident began kicking Donnie and in response he slapped her leg?
I said that today or in my statement?
In your statement.
I don't recall. I don't have it in front of me.
This was a win for the defense. He just barged ahead in the area the judge said he
Your Honor,
couldn't
may I
go.
approach with Exhibit 1?
And now he's going there.
That's Exhibit number 1. If you want to read and see if you can find that statement in there.
He's gone back to the statement. The judge basically ruled that if you want to do this, you're gonna let the whole thing in.
Okay. Can you ask the
But
question?
instead,
So isn't it true that on April 11th, you wrote that the resident began kicking Donnie and as a response, and in response, he slapped her leg?
Yes.
Thank you.
yeah, it doesn't help. I mean, he's still saying that he did something that he shouldn't have done.
All right, so let's talk about the sequence of events in the shower room. So the first time that you say Mr. Red hit the resident was when he slapped her arm?
I don't recall if it was the arm or the leg.
Would that have been after she had already hit him several times?
Objection, asked and answered. She just indicated she didn't recall.
Sustained.
After the first time that Mr. Red hit Miss Wood, was that when you decided, well, let me rephrase. That was when you decided you needed to report Mr. Red? The first time you hit her?
The first time he showed signs of aggression towards Miss Wood, I knew I was going to report it.
And the first time he showed signs of aggression would have been the first time you hit her?
Yes.
These long, awkward silences.
Do you recall if Miss Wood scratched Mr. Red?
I can't recall for certain, but she may have.
Do you remember if she drew blood?
Don't recall.
Do you remember if her nails were cut in the shower room?
I believe there was a discussion about doing it, but I don't believe they were cut. No,
You don't believe the nails were cut?
I don't believe so. I think they were going to be. I remember there being a conversation about nail clippers, but I can't recall exactly what that was.
So her nails were not cut in the shower room?
I can't recall.
Did Mr. Red ever leave the shower room, leaving you and Miss Wood alone together?
No.
Your Honor, may I approach to take Exhibit 1?
Yes.
Taking Exhibit 1.
Taking Exhibit 1. He is.
Your Honor, if I could have 1 moment before continuing.
This is interesting that we've got second chair. Is second chair the new attorney? Is he the new attorney? And first chair's the... That would explain a lot.
You said you believe there was you remember there being a discussion about trimming her nails?
Yes.
And that occurred in the shower?
I believe it was before the shower. There was a discussion of her nails needing to be cut.
You believe it was before the shower?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach with the state?
To the bench?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Do we get to hear this one? Nope. He's muted the microphone. We can't hear anything. They want a sidebar. I think that our second chair is actually the first. I think it's his first day, and maybe that would be the first chair on defense is the seasoned veteran. She's definitely been doing pretty well, especially on jury selection. I forgot I had another water. Yay. Good to the last drop. And I have a refill. Judge's hand gestures are quite expressive. What are you trying to do here? We're behind schedule. You've been standing there silently for half an hour. If I drink the whole thing all at once, then it doesn't have any chance to spill, Micah. I do think it's too late to try to ask for a plea deal. I'm not sure if that's what's going on right here, but I think defense's case is falling apart. They put all their eggs in one basket, and the judge ruled that basket inadmissible. Hard of hearing. The defendant has hearing aids, and he's also wearing hearing-assisted headphones. Tammy, they loved the Bug Museum. They held, oh, no, that was today. Today they held a rat. Yes, my daughter's like, I held a rat. And I was like, why? But no, it was a pet rat. I have not looked up in Washington what the penalty is for this particular charge. Does anyone know it off the top of your heads? Here's the dilemma we have, guys. If the defendant takes the stand, okay, I'm not condoning any of his behavior. At this point I don't know where this stands. I'm not sure if I believe this witness or not. Also, but we have the added benefit of being able to hear the testimony that was excluded during the motions in limine, where the defense was going to call the manager of this facility that said she examined the patient immediately after this and found no marks whatsoever, which doesn't mean it didn't happen. But a lot of people who work with elderly patients will tell you that as you get older, your skin bruises much easier, and that even somebody just if they a grip, like if you like fall and grab to catch someone, if they're falling or trip, it can bruise. It can be terrible. The skin just becomes very susceptible to injury. So it would stand to reason that there would have been some marks if what happened here occurred with the slaps. But if he gets paper-like skin, yeah, it's very fragile, and that's why they have to be treated so tenderly. And so if he did any of this, he's in the wrong. But if he gets up on the stand and testifies that he did any of this, even the tiniest bit, that's an admission of guilt, and it's guilty. So he may have a different version of events, but if he did any of this, it's done. I realize it's different. Catching a falling patient is way different than slapping a patient, but both of them will injure the skin. I successfully did not bounce at all. My kids had a lot of fun, though. Cheryl, thank you very much for going and watching my son's video and for voting for him. Thank you. It means a ton to him. If you guys vote for him, that's awesome. And I think I edited that, but he played that piece in one take. And so the audio is all from one take. I did go back and have him play it again for video, but we just used the video over the original audio because I missed a little part that I need to get a different angle on. Carolyn, I look at this a lot like we look at schools with what we allow teachers to do to students. There should be a zero tolerance policy, right? I think they're in the same. The youngest and the oldest of our society need protection. They do. Jared, if you want to. There's a website right here, Jared, where you have to go and you have to create an account to do this, but you have to log in and it's free. But you log in and then there's a page where it says there's a contest, like there's a title bar at the top of the screen and like scrolls through, has like two things that'll alternate through. The second one is a contest and you can vote on the piano piece. My son is in the high school category and he played a piece. His initials are A and M and he played a piece in there. So. It takes special people. Oh my goodness, it takes special people to deal with some of the kids in society, and it takes special people to deal with some of the adults in society. I think on both ends they're not paid enough for what they have to deal with. Lengthy sidebar here. Jury's still present in the room. Witness still on the stand. Once you've logged into the website, Jamie, if you go to, once you've logged in at the top, there's like a banner bar, and there are two little radio buttons. So it rotates through two different ads. The second ad it's about a piano competition. And you can click the vote button and then click the high school category. And my son's, I think his is number 5.
We suggested before using the entire statement as evidence.
They're still talking about the same thing the judge was saying. We said it before. The entire statement becomes evidence. So it sounds like this whole document, this whole complaint might be coming in. This is going to take all day for this sidebar. There's only one witness who has changed her story. I think there will be a police officer as well. But I don't know what evidence as far as the actual event, what she'll have. Do you want me to crank up the gain so we can try to listen to the whispers? Here we go. Buckle up.
Just same page. It's okay.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Apologize. Somebody just like sneezed in the... I've got to turn on the limiter before somebody goes deaf. Okay, we're still turned up. Let me bring on the high end because the whispers are up high. So we get lots more S's. We have to turn it down quick before they start talking. Didn't help. Still couldn't understand a thing. After all that, he still doesn't know what to say.
You remember being interviewed by Officer Black, now Officer Johnson, on April 12th about this incident?
The female from the
Tumwater
Police Department? Yes.
Yes. Do you recall in that interview telling Officer Johnson that during the shower or after the shower, you suggested trimming Miss Wood's nails?
I don't recall.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Wow. They got nothing.
Is there any redirect skip marker?
No, Your Honor. We'd ask
Then,
the witness may be excused.
then this devices you can step down. And either of you going to need her again in the future?
We might, Your Honor.
We might. Okay, so make sure that
Subject to recall.
you may be recalled.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
Is this a good interval then for noon recess?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then, members of the jury, I'm going to excuse you for lunch so that everybody can get lunch and we can resume with the rest of the trial. So you're excused until 1:30. So please be back here in the jury deliberation room by 1:30.
So we got one witness, about, I don't know, by my count, less than 100 words in of testimony, and not much else happened. There is only one other witness for the state, then they're going to rest. We may have two witnesses for the defense.
Jury's excused till 1:30. Your next witness is available at 1:30.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll start right up with that.
Yes, if you're voting for,
Works better for you, Mr. Red?
Somewhat. I'm very desperate.
Okay, yeah, she's a little soft-spoken, so it's not all you.
I can hear certain tones and voices.
B. Thimbles, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Court is very slow. They're done now for lunch. So we're going to get we get a second lunch. It's like Lord of the Rings. First lunch, second lunch. Thank you. I appreciate you going over there and voting for him. He's super excited about that piece. He's been practicing for a long, long time. When are we going to break for lunch? I'm trying to think what we could do with a second lunch, Judge. I think we can take a second lunch. Do you guys want to take a second lunch? Let's see. Can I go over there? Let's see. Let me go this one on this device. There it is. I don't think that link will get to it. Let's see. I think you have to drop the piano, the music library off the end. Okay, let me do this one. I think you just have to do this one here. Vicky, I don't know if the guy that proved his 60 hours per week in the Judge Simpson's court, I did not hear how that ended. So Bug Dugger, here's the link right here. This will get you there. I've got somebody on the phone. Let's see who this is.
Call from Misty.
Hello, Misty. This is Scott. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Scott?
Just great. What's on your mind today?
Well, this case has me conflicted because my dad was an Alzheimer's patient. He passed away last April. And
Sorry.
I took care of him. and then eventually we had to put him in a nursing home. My grandmother was also an Alzheimer's patient. When we put her in the nursing home, one of the things I was really conflicted about them having a man shower her, because one of the things that was kind of a staple in the nursing home, and it might go from nursing home to nursing home, but one of the staples was women tend to have, especially with Alzheimer's, have more opposition to men bathing them.
Right.
It just surprised me that they even had a man bathing her, because that tends to be a trigger for women with Alzheimer's. So I was kind of confused on that. Secondly, I was thinking about the fact that they do get very physical.
Right.
And the fact, you know, if there's two people in there, that's fine. But why instead of her not saying, okay, just step back, let me help, did she just sit and watch this incident happen? Because just defending yourself and putting your arm up while they're hitting you can bruise them and hurt them.
Right.
Just that simple act of going, you know, because I've done it with my dad.
Yeah.
So I know these things happen.
Here's what's come to mind. What we can see from court today is that the defendant is very hard of hearing, and it's possible that he was not aware of what the person behind him was saying, hey, let me take over. That doesn't make it any better. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. No.
But I'm just trying to put the pieces together and try to see what happened, because almost always one person's viewpoint is not 100% correct, right? So there might be different perceptions. It sounds like he was frustrated. It sounds like he did something inappropriate. And if that's the case, the jury, I think, will figure this one out. They can sniff it out pretty quickly. It's sad. It's a terrible situation. I don't know anyone who can look at this situation and not think about, someone in their own family, whether they're living currently, possibly needing this type of care, or having gone through that care, end of life, and just been like, man, what would I do if it was my if it was my family? This is a tough one.
But being on the other side too, and taking care of my dad for as long as I did, I took care of him for 5 years before we put him in the nursing home, and then he passed within a year. But it would be so easy from somebody standing behind, when my dad was, for me to put my hand up and it looked like I hit him. Or I'm going kind of from this standpoint of, I can see where things look worse than what they were. Or, not saying that he didn't do it, but that's where I'm kind of conflicted, because I've been on the other side of taking care of patients, and I can see where that would be an issue. But would I want somebody hitting my dad? No.
Right.
So did she see him actually hit her? Or did he, because that hasn't been established at all.
That she's our only witness. She's the only one. And I don't think the defendant will take the stand on here. I don't think.
I'm guessing not either.
So
I just, that's where I said I was kind of conflicted about it. But if they can prove that he actually hit her in any way, shape, or form, I hope they throw him away. Just because of that. Yeah. In my own family, to have somebody hit my dad would be atrocious to me, or my grandmother, or my mom, or any of that.
Yeah, it would be equivalent to some of us young parents finding out that our school teacher smacked our kid in the face, and we're like, no, well, you don't get to do that. That's not I don't care what he did. You don't get to do that.
Right, and this is battery on a vulnerable adult. Was what it would be, no matter whether there were bruises or not.
Yeah, and what it would be. I know right now in Washington, for this particular charge that they're pushing, alleging, It doesn't require evidence of the injury. There doesn't have to be pictures. There doesn't have to be skin bruising or damages or cuts or abrasions or broken bones. There doesn't have to be any of that. So you could literally take someone immediately after this altercation to a doctor and examine them closely and not have any evidence and still be able to successfully prosecute this charge. So I think right now...
Right, because battery can also be verbal.
Right now,
and I think that's why they categorize them in the same.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the only reason I was calling.
Yeah.
From here in North Dakota, where it's beautiful again.
It's beautiful again. Is it snow? Did it snow?
No, we still have no snow.
No snow, man. Some places
I'm so sad.
Some are getting tons, and others are getting none.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a total of, I think, 4 inches the whole year already. Last year, I think we were close to 100 inches of snow. So, yeah, people are walking around with sweaters. It's like 29 degrees.
It's like summer. It's like summer.
It's like summer. Yeah. It's spring.
All right. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it so much.
Yep, no problem.
All right, we'll see you. Bye.
Bye.
Call from
you. Ayden, my friend. How are you doing?
Hey, chat. Hey, long time no talk, right?
It's been at least since lunch.
Okay, so I want to offer a couple 2 pennies that, like, most of the chat thinks of me as just this, stupid criminal who's been in and out of prison, which, to be fair, is true. But on the other hand, a lot of people might not know. My first job out of the joint was a caregiver for a memory care unit up in northern Wisconsin, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was specifically assigned to a memory care unit for hospice patients who were on their last leg, right? Like, you know how we got on the people for saying, ketamine girl? Like, within the unit, it was called the death unit because they were on their last legs of dying, right? Like, that was just the way it was, okay? And so most people lasted on that unit about 4 to 5 months. I lasted 25 months, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I was is because I was the only person on staff who had dealt with a lot of death, a lot of trauma, a lot of whatever, okay? And so let me just put this picture in a few people's minds, okay? When you're dealing with dementia patients, the most vulnerable people of all, okay? They can't tell you what day it is. They think the president is Kennedy. They think you get it, okay?
Yeah.
And so you can't predict when they want to take showers. You can't predict when they want to clean themselves up. So the moment that they decide to do that, you jump on it, okay? It doesn't matter if it's a male. It doesn't matter if it's a female. It doesn't matter who it is, okay? Let me just picture this. Your loved one is sitting in their own BM, and I'm not going to get into you all understand what that means, okay? They're all sitting, if they're sitting in their own BM and they say, hey, I want to take a shower. There are no females around. Guess what? You take them to the shower room and you clean them up and you do whatever you have to do, okay? So when people are saying, I would never let my loved one get a shower from the opposite sex, well, you know what? The labor market doesn't allow that, okay? That isn't a luxury when you're paying people the same amount of money that you're paying people to flip fries, okay? Those are the realities, okay? And so when the person is ready and they are willing and they are saying, okay, let's go do this, you go do it, okay? And so it just frustrates me to see people who are saying, how on earth could a male give a female a bath or a shower? Guess what? Yes, they're combative, but you know what? They're combative for every reason under the sun. It doesn't diminish it. It's where they are. You meet them where they are. And if they're willing to meet you at the shower, that's what you do.
But I would say there would be no justification for spitting on them. There would be no justification for hitting them.
Okay, of course not, Barry. Do we have any proof of that other than a first day employee saying that?
She's a first day employee, but she's got 10 years of experience.
I don't care.
It's first day on this job.
Where's the proof? Burden of proof. Do we have any proof that happened?
Just the one witness.
Okay, is that reasonable doubt? Is that gospel? Is this person been ordained? Like, at what point do we, man? Like, I'm just saying, we need more than one person saying he spit on her. Like, you're in a. Do you know how difficult it is to give a dementia person a shower? You are in that shower with them, okay? You are getting soaking wet with them. What if he gets a mouthful of water and he just spits it out? Or does that mean he's spitting on her? Of course it doesn't mean that. Like, has anybody ever been in that situation? I'm just saying, I need more than one person who says he spit on her, okay? Like,
I hear you. Here's my where I side with you on this one. First of all, I don't agree with any of this behavior. Okay, if any of this happened, it is wrong.
Of course not.
But with this particular witness, we have at least allegations we've heard outside of court. The jury has not heard this yet. That this woman made lots of allegations anytime it would help her in her career. Okay, that's what the defense was alleging previously, and the judge said you can't bring that in. And then you've got allegations that after this allegation was made, the facility manager checked because based on the description that was given, there would have been some sort of injury to the patient.
Hitting?
And there were none.
The hitting? Okay, let me tell you something. If you hit a person in that condition, you are going to get bruising before you wheel them back to their room. That is a fact, okay? Those people bruise when they nick their elbow on their wheelchair, okay? Those are facts. I've been there. I did 2 years in it. I gave 25 hospice patients their last dose of morphine before they passed away. Do you think I was trained to do that? No. But because people are poorly trained and because people are just put in those positions, that's what happened. You give it under their tongue, and that's the last breath they take. Do you think they give you that information when you're signing up for a $15 an hour job? Of course not. And so here's my other thing. Yes, she may have had 9 years experience. How many years of experience does she have with that particular patient? They aren't just dominoes. They all have different behaviors. They all have different tendencies. They all have different sequences, okay? Just because she has 9 years of experience doesn't give her any sort of clout to determine what that one patient might do in that situation.
Yeah, Ivan, I hear you, and I'm conflicted on this one, mostly because it's this one, what I would say possibly unreliable witness, where her testimony today differs from what happens back then. Now, the facts, the basic facts are still there; those are consistent, but she's only forgotten the parts that could have changed the situation. Like if this was
picture it like this, RA. If you have 10 years of experience working in a small town police department, and then it's your first day on the job in Chicago PD, do you think that 10 years of experience gives a rat's behind or even qualifies as to what's going to happen with that particular person or that particular instance? I mean, come on. Like, every single person with dementia or Lewy body or everything, believe me, I am versed beyond anybody in this chat probably even imagine. Like, every single patient is different. They will spit on you. They will hit you. And this is not to discredit the victim. This is not to discredit the elderly. They don't even know what they're doing. But you are in that shower with them. You are in there with them. You have dealt with them for years. So say, like, I don't care how many years of experience you have. how many years of experience do you have with this particular person? That's what matters.
I hear you. My experience with individuals with dementia is limited to, to very brief experiences, and then my own great grandmother, who I barely knew, but I knew that she was in a home, that she was getting end of life care in a home like this, and that she ran away from it. She didn't want to be there. She ran away, and she made it all the way back to her old house, which was not fit for living in. It was terrible. And when they found her, she escaped, and she made it miles. And she moves like 0.3
Just think of it like this.
Okay? But
we all agree that daycares are horribly understaffed.
Let me finish my story, Ivan. I'm in the middle story.
Yeah.
Okay, she made it all the way to her
bad.
house, and when they found her at her house, okay, and in the bad condition it was in, they said, "Hey, you can't be there. How did you get here?" She said she rode the trolley. There's no trolley. There was a trolley 50 years ago, but there's no trolley then. And I realized they're in a different place. That even when we see them walking around looking at things, they're internalizing things differently. So I understand the challenges that presents to caregivers as you're trying to work with someone who is not seeing reality the same way that you are. But
here's my problem. If we cannot take the person's word for it because we all agree they are not cognitively able to present their own story, then why are we able to give the story they gave the co-worker?
They didn't. The coworker observed it. This was not a story from the victim. The victim said nothing.
She observed her first day with a first client that she'd never met before. Do you know how different these people can act day to day? The people who are there with them every day know how to deal with them best. Is it great? No. Is it good? Probably not.
She's a CNA.
Yeah.
You don't get there. You don't get there from nowhere. Okay. You to be a CNA, you've done some crap stuff for a lot of years. Okay. It's the way the system
It doesn't
works.
matter. Every dementia patient is different because guess what? Every day of their life is different.
Yeah. I hear you, Ivan. Appreciate you. You've got experience that I don't, and I appreciate you calling and sharing that. Obviously, tonight you've got a show on with Ricky Watson. Right after our podcast.
Sir.
So we're gonna have a lighter break with the podcast, and then whatever fresh. What do you call it? What do you call your show?
Me and Ricky. Good segue there. You were born for radio, my friend. Me and Ricky will be going right after Weather Watch and RA. It's called Old Cop Ex-Con. We're going to be going into the Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin deal. If you haven't done your homework, check my community tab and read up on it, but we'll be going right after that. Love you guys.
Thanks, Ivan. Good to talk to you. We'll see you.
Okay. Bye.
Call from Katie.
Hello, Katie. This is Scott. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Wonderful. Wonderful. What's on your mind?
Good. Oh, man. I love old people. Let me tell you.
They're the
so
best.
My dad was, they are. My dad was an administrator and then a chaplain at a retirement home here in St. Louis. It's now closed, but he was there for the first 16 years of my life. And so I would go after school and hang out with a bunch of them. And then when my grandparents moved in, I hung out with them too. But there was a man with Alzheimer's who was absolutely wonderful. And anytime he saw me, he didn't know me when I wasn't there, but anytime he saw me, he would open up his arms and give me a big hug. And like, it was, for being 12 years old, it was pretty special. So it was like, I love them.
I'll tell you.
So I hate that somebody's hurt,
With my first company that I ever tried to start was specifically to work with people who were elderly. And I made a video company. I called it Looking Back Video. And I wanted to basically sit down with people and let them tell their stories and let them tell they've lived through things that we can only imagine. Okay. There was no internet back in the day. There was,
no,
there were a lot of these people remember, television being a thing and coming, before then it was huddled around the radio and just how life was and everything. And so I had this whole plan to start a business that would just tell these stories and preserve them for family members. and just make a video and bring in their pictures and everything. It turns out that it took about, I don't know, 250 hours worth of work to do what family members would want to pay for about, I don't know, 10 hours worth of work. And it just, I couldn't make it work financially. I loved what I was doing, but it just, I couldn't pay the bills doing that. So unfortunately, I wish there was a way
and
to
I'd
do
go
that.
in the morning. I'd go in the morning with my dad, and there was a resident there who would tell me about the Browns. Now, of course, St. Louis Cardinals, but he would tell me stories from when they were the Browns. And every morning I'd go in there and we'd talk for a few minutes, and then I'd have to go off to school. I'd actually fake being sick because I wanted to spend time there.
And sometimes you hear the same story every day.
Get me to school.
Sometimes you hear the same story over and over. And, but oh my goodness, the sparkle in their eyes when they're telling something that's important to them. That's so neat. And even though you've heard this 20 times before, and they're telling it like it's the first time, and they're just there's so much inside there that can't come out, and it's amazing.
Oh, there is. There's another lady. She was born 1899. And lived until 2000, I think. So she was in, 3 centuries? Is that what it is? And let me tell you, she was hilarious. She wasn't with it all together, but she liked to stay in her room. And I would give her a sucker every day, and she'd start screaming up and down the hall, "I've got a sucker!" And so, just the little things, those memories are, very, very special. And when I worked at a retirement home then later on, and got really close to a man and his wife who had Alzheimer's. So every night he would come down and see her and bring her chocolate and grapes. And she couldn't talk anymore, but when she'd see me, she would try or she'd start laughing. So, it's very, very special times that I love them.
And
so
with
sad,
with dementia and all this, there are times when it's like it switches on and off. And talk about heartbreaking to have them be there and then slip away again. And that's why I like the Larkin Poe song so much, because it sings about that. But
somebody said, when I was learning about Alzheimer's, they said, okay, pretend that you are in a foreign country, you do not speak the language, and you get lost from a group of people. How are you going to feel when you can't really communicate with the other people whose language you don't understand? And that really struck a chord with me too.
When every face is a stranger, and it's
yep.
You don't recognize
they can
the
remember
faces
what happened.
from family pictures.
No, they can tell you what happened 20 years ago, but they can't tell you what happened 5 minutes ago. So it's when you get those moments with them and they know that you'll love them and take care of them, it's very, very special.
It is neat.
I just wanted to say that because it's really cool. I loved every second of it. So, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, we'll see
you. All right,
Bye.
take care. Bye.
All right, I wanted to show you guys. You guys were asking how to get to the page for my son for the piano. When you log into Piano Marvel, I think you can get to this page, and you click on Dashboard, and you get right here, and there's this page switches back and forth between Sight Reading Challenge and YouTube competition, and you can go over to Vote Now, and it opens up a page. You click on High School, and then my son's is right here, which he's currently in the lead. Woo woo! He's got 42 votes, but that's him. So, thank you for those that are interested in doing that. You don't have to, but appreciate that. Samantha, the link. Oh, sorry. The link you give me for that takes it somewhere else. Or I guess you can create a free account from that page. But I don't. It takes me to a list of songs, and we're not at the music library. I don't know where that one is. I think I just lost my chat. Yep, I broke it. I'll fix it. Hang on. Oh, where'd the call go? Just had a call. It's connecting. It's trying. Nope, it's gone. Show chat. So we have lunch for a little bit. I think we might take a little break as well. Is that okay? Because my wife and kids are back from their trip, And I want to hear a little bit about what they do. Let's see. Screen share, please. I did just a brief one. Did you see that? I can't share the video because it will get me a copyright claim. And I take that as a compliment for him, because it means that he's playing the song well enough that it gets picked up saying, "Hey, that's somebody else's song." So that's a compliment. Ivan says only Americans put elderly in homes. It's depressing. It is cultural. It is cultural. A lot of other cultures don't do that widely. Can you do it from a mobile phone? I do not know. I think you can. We only have 45 minutes left until court comes back. Let's take a half an hour break then. Is that okay? You guys can get your second lunch or your first lunch if you skipped the first one. The link works to create a free account. Wonderful. Okay, we'll take one more call and then we'll...
Abina S.
Abina, this is Scott. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's on your mind?
I was just listening to the stream about the case that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't following the whole case, but I wanted to try and give my perspective as someone who is disabled and has been cared by caregivers. So, everyone's been giving their perspective as caregivers. So I thought, maybe I can give my own perspective. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, I'm disabled. I was born with a disability. I also stutter, so I'm sorry if I stutter.
Oh, you're doing fine. Keep going.
Okay. So I used to go to a day program where there's mostly elderly people there. And I always say I'm very lucky because I'm verbal. I can speak and I can express myself. So compared to other people who are at the program, I had a bit of a better advantage. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like whenever I had to use the bathroom, I could go to them and say, "Hey, I need to use the bathroom." And I always wondered, like, the way we did it was people who had to use the bathroom would go to them and ask for the bathroom. They didn't come to us and ask if we need to use the bathroom. So I always wondered, like people who couldn't speak, like what would they do? Like how would they get help? And even though I could speak, I would always have to wait, like I would say maybe like 30, 40 minutes before I would get help. And I would often have accidents, and it was so humiliating to have those accidents. So I was wondering, like, oh my gosh, here I am, I can speak, and I can't get help still.
Yeah.
And I had instances where CNAs dropped me, where I've been hurt, and I never blamed them. I always blamed the system because they would go in, the employees would go in and out. I would have different aides and stuff. And it's just a very tough system, and the CNAs, they do their best. And I understand, like, people with dementia, they live in this cloud, so they don't really understand what's going on. So I imagine on both ends how tough it can be. Like, it's just such a difficult situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, you've definitely got an inside perspective, but it's tough. It is tough. It's...
Yeah, I mean, my mom is also a CNA, so I've always heard stories from her dealing with difficult patients. We're West Africa. Our mother's from Liberia, so she always dealt with racism and abuse from the patients. But she would do her best to try and help them because she knew that they didn't mean it.
Yeah, that's.
So.
Thank you so much for sharing that inside perspective there. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know it doesn't really add much. I'm sorry for derailing, but
no, it does. It's I wish there was an answer, okay? Because this is something that all of us in society have to deal with at some point, whether it's with a family member or whether it's with ourselves. I mean, we all hope to one day grow old. That's the goal, is to survive that long. Have that 80th, 85th, 100th birthday party. That would be wonderful, right? But it comes with it a lot of challenges. And how we deal with those is important. I think how we treat people who are in that stage of life tells a lot about us as a society.
Yeah, because I know people who aren't disabled probably don't think about how I would view the world. When you're walking somewhere, how much do you think about how many steps are there? Or how much do you think about whether this sidewalk has a curb or not, or whether the sidewalk even continues? Because my neighborhood barely has sidewalks. I can't really go outside that much.
Man, just things other people never even cross their mind. That might be completely limiting factors. It might as well be a wall, if you can't navigate through that area. Thank you so much.
When we moved to our new house. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
When we moved to our new house, I asked my mom before we moved, are there steps at the house? Like, is it a flat entry or is there a step? She said, oh, no, there's no step. It's flat entry. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I show up. There's a step. She didn't even notice it. Even though I've been her daughter for my whole life, you still never noticed that there was a step at the house. Like, that's how much people want to table don't even realize certain things.
Yeah. Yep. It takes being in that situation to recognize it. There was an activity we did when I was in school where you had, I think it was while we were studying about Helen Keller, I think, but we went 24 hours being blind, right? So you'd be blindfolded. And holy cow. I mean, the first couple of minutes is like, this is fun. And then it's like, wow, I'm getting vertigo. I can't tell if I'm upright or not. And now I'm straining. I've got a headache. I'm straining for sounds, and I'm walking differently, and my muscles are tense differently because I'm protecting myself from falling, and doing things that I normally do. That I think, I don't need my eyes to do that. I could do that in my sleep. No, it's actually pretty hard to do if you can't see. But yeah, if you've never had that experience, it's a fun one, educationally wise. It's fun because we can take the blindfold off at the end, but it's very eye-opening to try to live the way someone else lives every day and experience that for yourself. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. And give me your name one more time.
Abina.
Abina. Okay, didn't want to say it.
Yeah, A-B-N-A.
Thank you so much, Abina. It's wonderful talking to you. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, we're going to take a half-hour break so I can talk to my wife. The comments are not on the screen. Put them back on. Court is back in about 45 minutes, I think. We're going to be back. I think it should go quicker than this. Honestly, this lawyer's dragging it out. I hope it doesn't take another day. But anyway, we're gonna finish this case up. I think if I were to vote right now, I'd say the jury is probably going to convict. That's where it's at. So anyway, so court's going to be back then. And let's see, let's play a little bit of music. Let's do this one. My neighbor's 92. She still drives. Probably shouldn't, but that's not for us to decide. And does not want to go to home, but do have an on-call nurse. Angela at 92. If I'm still driving, I hope it's a sports car. At that point, you've lived long enough. Get a good, comfortable one. 35 minutes until court. Okay, we're going to short break. Half an hour. We'll be back after that. You guys, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys watching with me today. Tonight, when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone. Make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe. We go live again in about 30 minutes. About 30 minutes. Almost like I should just leave it going. All right. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Have a good one. Bye.